Hello, everybody, and welcome to this latest in our series of fireside chats. Thank you once again to Dangerous Studios for editing this and putting it together for us. Today, we've got something really special for you. One of our fantastic speakers and a really good friend of mine, someone I've known for some time now, Jaco van Gass. Jaco is a former parachute regiment private soldier who was horrifically wounded in Afghanistan some years ago now, and has lived an amazing life ever since, and he's kindly come along to tell us a little bit about that today. We're going to be doing another two of these, and the two that we're going to follow up with will concentrate on one part of Jaco's story. But for the purposes of today, here's a little introduction to Jaco. Jaco, how are you?
I'm Matthew. I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm more than blissful, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's always great to see you. How's the Lockdown 2 treating you?
Yeah, Lockdown 2 has definitely been different than 1. I think I have found it a little bit more frustrating and a little bit more difficult than the first one, actually. But there seems to be light at the end of the tunnel, and we just hope everyone is staying safe and staying well. And like I say, there's a roadmap out of here, so we just need to all stay with it and positive as much as we possibly can.
Absolutely. Yes, it's the name of the game. So, Jaco, for the people that might not know you that are watching this, you were wounded back in 2008?
2009, yeah.
August. Sorry, in Afghanistan, yes. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about kind of early stage of the story.
Yeah, so I obviously deployed on my second tour of duty with the Parachute Regiment, and that night was actually probably one of our last operations or missions that we were going to conduct. It was 5.5 months. I literally had a couple of days, probably less than 10 days left in theatre before returning back to the UK. When I got injured that night, I've been hit by an RPG, a rocket propelled grenade that severed my left arm from my body immediately, and I sustained a number of other injuries that night. And I think the hardest thing about that was actually waking up in my hospital bed and looking down on myself and seeing the extent of the injuries that I sustained that night. Because I remember losing my arm. It was something, the incident happened. There was a moment of, I've lost consciousness for a few seconds and came back. And I remember the medics working on my arm and putting on a tourniquet and all that kind of stuff. But then I woke up, eventually I lost consciousness again. And then I wake up 6 days later in Seluk Hospital back in Birmingham. And I'm looking down on myself, and suddenly I have, bandages everywhere. My left arm is in bandages, and
yes, we've actually got a photograph of the time you're talking about. So we'll have a quick, and now just to be to kind of warn a few of the viewers off, it's slightly grisly, this photograph, right? But we're going to put it up if you don't want to look away now. But Jaco, talk us through what's happening in this photograph, because it looks.
Yeah, well, as you will see in this photograph, so I obviously knew about my arm, as I mentioned. But then suddenly I looked down at myself, and I had this big kind of brown orangey bag thing across my stomach, which was a colostomy, which I had no idea what it was, what the function is, and why. Obviously, due to the colostomy, having to put it in, I had a great big scar from just below my chest all the way down to my belly button. These stitches was raw and they were painful. Any kind of movement, they've cut straight through my abdominal, my abs and all the layers of muscle and tissue there. And I think the biggest one for me was looking down on my leg. My leg was splint in a big splint and on this kind of rack type of thing, and a big moon boot on it. And I was just like, well, what's going on here? And I've lost 1/3 of muscle and tissue to my left upper thigh.
Wow.
And I didn't really know what they mean. They just said you've lost a lot of muscle and tissue. And it's not eventually, and this was all bandaged up. And it's not till the first time that they took the bandages off to put fresh ones on and to clean the wound that I saw the extent of what injuries my leg has sustained and how it looked. And that was really quite a shock to me. I've also fractured my left knee, and I had a fasciotomy on both sides of my left calf. Basically, I broke my ankle so badly, and the inflammation or the skin kind of started to swell up, and it was, about to kind of tear the skin, and was going to cause permanent damage to some ligaments and kind of more the nervous system within the foot. So they had to cut to relieve the pressure on both sides of my calf. And then I broke my ankle really badly as well. So at that point as well, any form of pressure on my ankle was so painful. Funny enough, they've actually missed it or overseen how bad my ankle was, because there was so much going on. And it's during a couple of days or weeks within hospital, I was constantly moaning about this ankle. And eventually we did do a scan, and they're like, yeah, it's broken, and we never actually knew about it. So gone back in and put that right. But like I say, suddenly I realized that, this wasn't just losing an arm and dealing with this. This is dealing with multiple injuries. The arm is one, and, there's certain things we can do about that, dealing with it. Then there was the abdominal wounds, and then living with a colostomy. Like I say, I had absolutely no idea what a colostomy is, what it entails. Is this something forever or permanent? And again, they're like, well, it's depending on, I think at the time it was 1 in 10 individuals have a colostomy for life. And I was just hoping, goodness me, I hope I was around the middle, number 4. I don't want to be on the back end.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's horrific. And I always find this interesting, because I've said this to you many times. I've known you for a while now, and I kind of forget that you've only got one arm. And we've had this conversation that, I never knew you with 2 arms anyway, but I kind of forget you've only got one arm. It's kind of normal to me. And you've said lots of people say that kind of thing to you. But equally, the fact that you've only got, that's what people see. If somebody saw you walking down the street, people would say, oh, there's a guy with one arm. But they don't realize that actually you've got all this muscle kind of torn out as well. And, you've problem with your lung and all of that kind of stuff. So it really must have had a massive effect on you. Kind of just, you were bashed to pieces, right? And I find it then amazing that, so since then, and just to again give the people who are viewing a little bit of an idea on this, is I tried to list the stuff that you've done. So, and some of this stuff we're going to talk about in our future fireside chats. And tell me if I've missed anything, right? So you've been to the North Pole, right?
Yep.
You've climbed Everest.
Yep.
You have been both British and world cycling champion.
Yep.
You have won 3 golds and a silver at the Invictus Games.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm doing well. You have been selected for the Olympics that should have been last year. You've been selected for that.
Yep.
Which is going to happen this year. We'll come back to that in a second. You carried the Olympic torch.
Yep.
And you've played cricket for the Army Disabled Cricket Team.
Yep.
And the one that really gets me as a South African is you've also learned how to ski.
Yeah. That was a fun one, actually.
Exactly. So that's a list, right? I mean, there's able-bodied people out there that have done none of those things.
Well, so you've mentioned a few things that I've already forgotten as well, and I'm pretty sure if we dig into a bit more detail, the list actually goes longer. But
when you cycled across America,
I've cycled through Chile from north to south. I've done, the world's hardest mountain bike race. There's a number of things, a few marathons in there as well. So yeah.
Of course, marathons.
Yeah, like I said, I sometimes need to look back on itself and just, you kind of are at awe sometimes going, have I actually done all of that? But I mean, it's just the opportunities came my way, and my mindset changed, especially after the injury, because my whole mind was focused on being a soldier, getting back into the army as soon as I can, getting out to Afghanistan. Actually, that was literally one of my main focuses. Laying in a hospital bed was getting back to Afghanistan, and suddenly
rejoin your pals and carry on the fight. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Go rejoin. Rejoin the regiment, rejoin the fight. Go and do my job out there, and this was a big struggle for me, and constantly working out. There's almost like an element as well. Like I knew I could probably do that with just one arm. There's a way around it. But suddenly, with the multitude of injuries I sustained, that became a lot harder task to achieve, actually. And it's not until quite some time, probably a good month, 2 months down the kind of road of recovery, that I realized that might not be an option. That might not be a reality, to be honest. And once I made peace with that was like a switching point for me. And that's where I then went on to go, well, if I can't be a soldier, if I can't be a private and do the job that I love so much, what can I go and do? And this is where, well, I had to look after myself at first. Okay, right, let's get myself out of this bed. Let's get myself into a wheelchair and take that step by step. So setting those goals, setting those challenges. And that's how one led into the other, getting fit, getting strong. And it started off with a bit of running, to then go and do a half marathon in Kenya, to then do a full marathon in New York, to then go and run in Washington with a backpack on, full army scale. And then I was fit enough to then go on to the North Pole. And so they just snowballed on and on and on. So yes, like I say, there's actually a number of things you've mentioned that I forgot, because it was then just like a fast forward button, and whatever came my way, I kind of measured what can I do and what kind of not do at this moment in time. And yes, this seemed the one I'm a bit more enthusiastic about and grabbed it on.
Go at it. Yeah. Well, let's super. So what we're going to do over the next couple of fireside chats is we're going to choose a couple of those subjects and kind of deep dive into them. And, obviously we'll tell the people who are watching this in advance which one we're going to talk about. But there's one thing I want to pick up just before we close this off, just this kind of short intro to Jaco and the world of Jaco. I've just picked up on something you said there. You said, now bear in mind, there's a big list of things that you've done, all very exciting, all very motivational. I've heard you speak many, many times, so I know you're a motivational guy. You've done this big list of things. You've done it A, in the space of 12 years, if my maths are correct. Mm-hmm. You've done it B, whilst having horrendous injuries. Okay. And you said, this is what you said a minute ago, I took the things where the opportunities came my way, right?
Correct.
Do you really think, and this is kind of a message for the listeners and the viewers out there, and it's really prevalent right now in lockdown, do you really think opportunities come people's way, or do we make them?
That is a very, very good question. And I think my honest answer is that it's both. If you create opportunities will come your way. And if you're almost ready, like I say, for me, it was, I had to put myself forward to be able to do something. And then once I achieved something, it's almost like it was then easier for opportunities. Almost instead of going looking for opportunities, it was a reversal that opportunities come my way. So I think you do need both, where you need to try and create opportunities. And once you achieve that, or you do have that opportunity and you make a success from it, then other opportunities will actually come your way. And then then it's a bit of a, like I say, then it's easier to kind of choose from where you want to go. And do you create more yourself, or do you pick off some of the ones coming your way? So I would say it's a bit of a straight down the line kind of shot, where you need both, and both kind of help each other. But I think I think the biggest thing is that first initial step as well, to try and create an opportunity. And I would not have had the opportunity to go to the North Pole if I didn't put the effort in to get selected, to be fit enough, to make the criteria on all the occasions. So like I said, there is some onus onto you as well.
Cool, excellent. A very, as expected, as always, a very diplomatic answer to the question there, Jaco. It's always wonderful to hear you say things like that. Listen, brilliant. It's been real fantastic to see you. I've not seen you for a little while, for obvious reasons. Fantastic to hear your voice. I hope you and the family are all very well back there, and looking forward to your big celebration next year, in about a year's time, in fact. Yeah,
well, again, it's with one of the punches we had to roll with. It was something we look very, very much forward to this year, but sadly, we had to think about our own safety and our family and our guests, and just in the place where where the world is at the moment. So sadly we had to postpone that, but like I say, we're going nowhere. We'll celebrate later on and make sure that it's worthwhile.
Definitely. Well, listen, I'm looking forward to these fireside chats with you over the next few weeks when we get together and really drill down on one of these subjects. But for now, Jaco, superb to see you. Thank you very much for joining us, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, Matthew.